Okay, let's go.
We'll start from here. We'll start from opening a beer can.
So we'll open a beer can to start talking?
Mm-hmm.
Fuck it, let's roll.
All right, man. Hell yeah. Salute.
So, I thought you were going to chug it.
Go freaking bottoms up.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Hell yeah. Well,
Here we are.
We're live.
Ready to go.
Ready recording.
Have a cold Dos Equis.
Hell yeah. Pinche Ben here.
Jimmy, too.
PB&J, a.k.a. the Dos Amigos.
Dos Amigos with the Dos Equis.
Hell yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Cast&Blast podcast. We're just sitting here having a couple cold ones, and we're going to be talking to you guys and just kind of going from the hip, man.
Yeah, kind of that cold beer back in the day talks, right?
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I've been wanting to ask you some like deeper questions about like how it got started for you fishing, hunting, outdoors, and all that stuff. And we've talked a lot about it, but you, can you remember like where you first, I can't remember where I first fished, went fishing with my dad. Do you have like a memory of that or?
My first real memory, I actually got, I don't know if I got a black eye, but in my memory, I got a black eye doing it. We were living in Dallas, in the Dallas area. I don't know if we were in Lake Dallas, Plano area, somewhere in there. And, small kid, I don't remember exactly where, but, we've talked about our pops, our dads quite a few times. And my dad grew up out in the country, fishing and hunting, growing up his whole life. But at this time we were living in Dallas, which, major metropolitan area, not a whole lot of opportunities there for a whole lot of fishing. They do have a whole lot of lakes and things like that.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a boat or anything like that. And my dad used to do a lot of bow fishing and stuff with his brother.
From the bank?
Well, from either the bank, the boat, or wading, get up in some
wow.
shallow water sloughs and just wade, walk super slow for carp and guard, things
dope.
like that. But my first memory that I can really think of fishing is my dad took me to a pay lake. Well, it was like a family event or whatever. And we hooked up on a catfish, and to me at the time was a monster. It was a freaking toad, right? And some of the story comes from my mom telling me the story, because I think I was like 5 at the time, around 5 or something like that. Maybe 4, hell, I don't know. But I'm trying to fight this fish at this pay lake, and like it drugged me over a chair or made me trip over it. You know what I mean? Or a picnic table or something like that. And I remember hitting my face and saying like, "Oh, this fish gave me a black eye."
Definitely a story your mom told you, because that's the story they're sticking to.
That's it. But that's what rings out in my mind, and that's the first like significant fishing memory that I have. How about you?
I was thinking about it as I was asking you. Like, I can't remember like the first time. I know it had to have started like recreational fishing in the sense of like, I went and did a lot of fishing with my dad as a youngster, man, like for food.
Yeah.
Like dad was always having fish fries. That was a good amount of my upbringing was fried fish, fish fries, fried oysters, fried shrimp, whatever we could get our hands on.
I'm getting hungry.
I know it sounds so good. But I mean, thinking back on it, my dad had one of those discos. I don't know, like a frying wok.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. My brother-in-law made me one of those.
His was like makeshift. It had like a tire rim as a base. My dad was a welder, so he always made all our pits and stuff. And then he put a pipe and then another wheel for the fire. Set the fire on, and then above it.
So was it a wood burning or propane? Like you put a tank under it, or
wood burning?
Wood burn. Okay, cool.
So it would get, man, and he would fry his ass off,
Yeah.
bro, and just the whole neighborhood would come in and throw down, dude. I'm talking about
This was down at Corpus
down in
area?
Corpus, man.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to think of like where I started, I would think it was a recreational fishing, probably down off of like Cole Park. There's the bluff down on Corpus. If you go like downtown Corpus Christi,
Mhm.
there's areas of Corpus on the bay that faces the bay. You can actually you can actually just fish from like the bluff, and it's like the seawall, you know, and you just kind of, there's steps or whatever, you can fish there and all that stuff. And I think that's where we started. Just take dad. But dude, let me back up. Before that was like recreational fishing, right? Dad taking you out, kind of wetting the line, right? And you know, him
Trying to teach you the ways.
Yeah, but you know, before I ever went fishing with him, like when I started getting into it, I remember my old alma mater, the high school, was right across the street from one of my uncle's apartments, like directly across the street. Like his apartment was here, and then there was Staples.
So down in Corpus, you're surrounded. I mean, you got water everywhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're on the coast,
Yeah.
so you're just there, and that's the one thing I miss about Corpus is like you can find the water's edge anywhere you go, right? But they would take us and go sit there and drop the tailgate and drink beer, and me and my cousin, we'd have a open pin reel just like that one behind you.
Yeah.
And we'd be out there just casting bird's nests and taking
burning
it out.
thumbs.
Dude, just casting, and just like they would set up a weight, no hook or nothing, and just like, you're gonna learn how to cast this out. And we would do that all day, bro. Just like throwing line, and I'd bird nest over and over and over again. They'd just sit there and be like, undo it, do it again, until I could learn how to feather it and get it, you know, going. This is way before any kind of like fancy reels with worm guides and all that stuff. It was nothing but your thumb trying to reel in. And
those Zepcos.
I didn't start off with Zepcos, man. I started off with so down at Cole Park, I did like Cole Park, the T-heads, all that stuff. Like those were like, we called them old Snoopy reels.
Yeah.
And you know, you would start off with those, and that's how I started off with my dad, man, was just kind of going out of the trunk of the car. Know what I mean? Like just dad taking you out, trying to have some, you know, cold beers and have a good time with you, and just do that. Because like you could literally be after work, it could be on the weekend, it could be, we're driving from our house to my uncle's house, and they was always like, hey, well, let's stop here and just wet a line.
Yeah. And
that's where it started. But man, later on it got serious because you know, he and my uncle, they really got into fishing. And I'll tell you, you talked about not having a boat. I could tell you a story later about acquiring a boat.
I think you've told that story. I don't know if you've told it on here, but you've told me.
Yeah, dude. I'll say it here. There was a down at the Packery Channel, there was a boat abandoned, and
I have a love-hate for the Packery Channel.
Yeah, so that was the spot, bro. Like you can go down there, man, and dude, you could kill it. And you know, if you look up over that overpass, there's some telephone poles with power lines. You just look up there, and there's just like generation after generation of people's leaders.
You got leaders, weights, and hooks and stuff.
Isn't that cool? Yeah. Think about how many people have been hooked up there. I think I have one or twice.
I fished it a couple times with my son, and we didn't exactly kill it.
No. Yeah, man, you had to been bad timing, man. I mean, hey, but know. You know, you can go on any given day, go out and just not catch anything, but it's very hard to do down in South Texas, bro.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna have to show you the ropes.
Yeah, someday we gotta try it. So I know shortly after that memory of me, like that's the first fishing memory we had. We ended up moving from Dallas to Southeast Oklahoma, where my dad was originally from. And when we got there, you know, that's his what he's familiar with and things like that. So he started going, you know, to his normal spots that he grew up fishing and things like that. And we lived way out in the country, so it was mainly a lot of, you know, farm ponds and things like that. But really, they really held some big fish, and it was a lot of bass and things like that. And then we would catfish, but when we catfish, we would run the rivers. So we would do trot lines, and then maybe set up on a bank somewhere and run some rod and reels while trot lines are soaking. But Yeah, I remember like getting out there when we got there, and I have a distinct memory of like seeing the difference in when we were fishing at a pay lake or something like that as a kid, to see my dad back kind of in his home area, and knowing like there's a huge thing where my dad's like, "Hey man, cast over here,"
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he'd be like, tie this on. He would try to, he would teach me how to tie on a lure or whatever the case
Oh
is. And
man.
I don't know how many I probably went through before I,
Yeah.
figured out how to tie a real knot. And he would check it and be like, "Good luck, son. Shit ain't happening.
Yeah.
Hope you don't get one." "No, Dad, it's good. It's good." But you're a kid and you're trying to learn. He's like, "Yeah, you're gonna learn the hard way." But and
Do you remember the knot he taught you? Do you still use it?
I do, and it's just an improved clinch.
Yeah.
Like some say the fisherman's knot or whatever,
Yeah.
and
I
I
mean, I
still
think we all
use it a
started on
lot.
that. You can improvise it and do different things.
Yeah, and
Make
I
a
do.
loop
Yeah,
knot, all that stuff.
yeah.
The same thing.
Depending on what bait I'm using now or something, kind of change it up. But I do use that knot a lot, and that's the first thing I taught my son to tie too, which he still needs some work on, sadly. But uh, do you remember what like baits for us? Dad always like he would always give us a H&H, and I don't know if you know what an H&H
Yeah.
is,
I
but
still have a couple.
yeah, me too,
Yeah.
man. And then like you said, grew up with not super well off or anything, so money was pretty tight. So when you go fishing, one, subsistence,
Yep.
but you're going to spend some money on some lure, rods, reels, and things like that. And we had we were fans of the Zebcos. Used those a lot until you kind of step your way up into some different rods and reels.
Do you remember where you used to get these? Think about how access to fishing rods has evolved.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Well, I mentioned we live way out in the country. Some of them, I don't know exactly where Dad was getting them because I was still too small. But there were a few tackle shops within probably, well, there was RJ's, which was down on the river, which was cool. But you go to these small, when I say tackle shop, it wasn't much bigger than this room.
Yeah.
Like tiny.
Yeah, that's all there was back there, back home, back then.
But you go there and get a rod and reel, you're going to pay 2 to 3 times
Absolutely.
what it, you could
Anything
get it for
you buy in there.
anything you buy in there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's either that or you drive 30, well, it's what, a 60 mile round trip to Walmart, to the closest
Right.
Walmart. So you go there and then you get stuff. But I do remember at the time too, my aunt was the manager at Walmart of the outdoor section, or whatever. So she would let us know when there's like new stuff or cool
Yeah.
stuff coming in or whatever.
That's
So
dope.
a lot of stuff will come from Walmart. I mean, that's all we had around there. A couple small bait shops, you can pay 3 times what you're going to pay at Walmart. And, they put that monopoly on there. Or you just go to Walmart and get it. But not only that, but we use a lot of cane poles too.
Oh, yeah.
Like cane, bamboo,
Yeah.
we use a lot of those too. And it's crazy what you can do with those. I mean, as far as like, if you get a long enough one, and how you can actually cast it out, and it's almost like pitching
Can you
and flipping.
explain how you use a cane pole? Are you actually tying on like eyelets to it, or you just
String at
to
the end
of the stick?
Yeah, string at the end of the
Bro,
stick.
that's crazy. I had never done that before.
Yeah, and then I mean, you've pitched and flipped before, right?
Oh yeah,
it's
but
kind of the same.
but you're releasing line with you got a finite amount of string on the end of your stick. That's
Yeah.
a little different.
Mm-hmm.
You got to kind of make that line or that cast count.
So yeah, you do, and you have to you got to match the length of the cane pole to the person as well, unless you
Right.
just want it really long, and
That's
they kind of
arguable.
whip it out. And,
That's arguable in any fishing pole.
Right.
There's a
Uh-huh.
controversy
Yeah.
behind that too, I guess you could say.
but there's technique to it, and they're a viable fishing option if you don't have a rod and reel. You may not catch some of the bigger, big fish on it, but you can catch a hell of a lot of fish on it, and it's fun too. It's really
Bro, you're
fun.
taking me back to some freaking memories, dude. Like I was just thinking about like where would we get our poles? I can't remember where. I don't remember physically watching my dad buying poles. Obviously, they had poles, right? And between him and his brothers, they had a bunch of rod and reel combos or whatever. But I do remember the bait shops. You were talking about the tackle shops and all that stuff, right? And man, back then it used to be those mom and pop little like little casitas, bro, just
Yeah.
a tiny little house like off the bay or you know, I think of Causeway. Shout out to Causeway Bait Shop. They're still open. They're still doing business. Still mom and pop. Roy's Bait and Tackle used to be off of SPID. These places back then they were like 1,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Now you're talking about like 20,000 square foot.
Yeah, they're huge now.
Complete, outfitted with so much that it's almost sensory overload. You mean you just can't go in there and ask for something you can't find. I mean, you go down to Corpus though. I mean, the HEB has more than our academy does here. So I mean, it's a fishing town, you know.
I got laughed at down there the last time I was down. We've talked about. I don't know much of anything about saltwater fishing. So so we go down there and fish. Me and my son, we go to the bait shop real early in the morning. We're like, hey, we want some live shrimp, and he's like, you're a little early, son. Shrimp ain't coming in. We're waiting on them to bring it in. I was like, damn, some fresh bait. You know, they got people out checking traps. Getting bait to bring it in. So I was like, all right, man, we're just gonna hang around big ass bait shop. So we're just gonna look around and kind of see and. I seen some popping corks, and I've been watching some YouTube and stuff. And I'm a grown ass man with a gray beard buying popping corks, and this dude's laughing. And he was like, "Damn, you popping corks for you little fella here?" And I'm like, "Nah, bro, they're for me. Like, I don't know.
Show me what I'm supposed to be doing."
Yeah,
that was like me when I came down here and had to learn how to freshwater fish. I mean, I was sitting out here at the marina. Setting up with a rig like my saltwater rigs down in Corpus. And I remember I was casting out and there was this dude looking at me like, well, what are you doing, man? I was like, I'm fishing, bro. What are you talking about? He's just like, nah, man. So he showed me how to tie a couple things, went back, did a little research, figured it out. But yeah, man, those little bitty mom and pop, dude, I remember hitting those up. I mean, we'd start off we would go down to the T-Heads. I had family had a shrimp boat and they worked shrimp boats back then, and we would go down there and just go to us. Dude, I still remember it. Dude, it's such good memories. I could see it. The boat name was El Paisano. You would go down there and you'd look for their boat. Because, I mean, everyone in the family knew we can go down there. We'd go down there, find the boat. You'd walk up, maybe like, hey, and they'd be like, what's going on? You tell them, hey, let me get a couple pounds of shrimp. They'd hook you up with a bag. You'd come back, throw those shrimp in, or the shrimp in a little, what's it called? Like
a bait bucket?
A bait bucket, you know, with a little aerator or whatever, you know, keep them alive. And then you get down to the water and just keep those in the water. But, man, those are just good memories, just walking up to the T-Heads, getting shrimp, going down fishing.
You ever fish that jetty down there? It looks like a dick.
Oh, yeah, dude. Oh, yeah. You talking about well, there's several jetties.
Yeah, but there's
one off with a dick-shaped one. I wasn't. Hey, you look. I mean, I was like, yeah. Wait, hold on. So,
there's a jetty down there. It looks like a dick from like a topographical view of it, a satellite view of it.
I don't look
looks
at
like
these
a
shits
dick,
from
man.
the top, bro.
No, it's there, dude.
Nah, I mean, we go out. So Packery Channel has the jetties. You got the jetties down even further down to the channel. And then you got some jetties that go off of like, I don't know what that body of water is, like over by the Lexington, the ship out there.
Yeah.
So that little body of water, there's a couple of jetties that come out that way.
So the Dick Jetty's down opposite of
that's
south
officially
of there.
The name. If they're not, we should change the name.
Well, me and my son, we fished so many jetties in a channel.
Do you go to the bait shops and say, hey, can you point me to the Dick jetties?
No, so I did. Well, I found this one by myself.
I bet you did.
All right, dude.
I've been going back ever since.
There's probably a name for it, and you know it.
Oh, yeah, but
I'm about to show you the Dick Jetty.
Yeah, we would go out there, hit up, dude. Shout out to all these bait shops. They're still open, dude. But like Clem's, Billings, Causeway, Roy's, dude. Roy's used to be the spot where you go back and take your fish to get take a picture.
Oh,
and they had the Polaroids back then, so that you would go down there and you tag out, take a picture, and then yeah, bro, it's just think going back that far, because you kind of get away from that as you start. We've dabbled in some tournament fishing. You dabbled into where it's the recreational part about it. Going back to the nostalgia. That's what I need to say. Not recreational. The nostalgia kicks in.
Dude, I have to find this. I made this comment.
I have child memories of us fishing with pops, dude. And
Man.
my dad, so for the audience, man, my dad passed in 2002. Jimmy's dad's still living. I've had the pleasure of talking to Jimmy's dad about fishing, man, and it just makes me smile from ear to ear because it reminds me of fishing with pops, man. And I love their stories. I love their your pops is he reminds me a lot of my dad, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Dude,
Like,
my pops is cool,
he
man.
is, dude.
He's like he's my dude, man.
Yeah, man. We got to call him in on a podcast one day, man. Just be like, let's talk fishing.
Or get him down here.
That would be the dream right there, man.
Oh my God, I can't find the dick jetty. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I have to.
You got to be careful what you're searching too. You can't search like dick shaped jetty.
Okay, here it is. Here it is. Tell me what that looks
Straight up, dude. We're gonna have to share that on the put a picture of that on.
Put it on there.
Yeah, he's gonna have a big blur over it. Bro, you sure, dude? Back in the day, I used to go. So summer would hit or spring break or whatever, and me and my buddies from high school, dude, we would go down to the beach and we'd skip school and go down to the beach. Like everybody go down to the beach, bro. And there would be rows of cars just bumper to bumper going in one direction, and then another row there'd be like a dozed sand dune that blocked like a median. So this direction had to go this way, that traffic had to go this way, and then there was like a dune dozed, and there was water.
Oh yes, yeah. I got you.
So we would go and sit down and like, you know, I remember this one time I like sat down on the sand and I made a huge freaking like fucking cock and balls on the freaking sand, dude. Put seaweed all over it, and I just sat there with my like legs.
What was the seaweed for,
bro? Some short and curlies, bro. Yeah. So like, girl, but it was like a speed bump. It was so big and obnoxious, you would have to drive over it. So I was just sitting there, and cars would come by, and I'd like hold up a sign, like, you know,
that's funny.
Honking, you know, whatever,
yeah,
you know, and they'd be like looking, and they'd see that speed bump, and it was just like a huge.
Maybe that jetty was made in memory of
that jetty. I think I did it. Like it's probably mine.
It probably is. Ben made the dick jetty.
Dude, that's hilarious. Nah, man. Man, we're sharing some old freaking stories with you guys just to bring you in on the conversation. I'm sure as we're doing this, you're thinking about like old, just I like to use that word nostalgic because it's the appreciation you kind of lose over time, and then when you go back and think about it, man, that was where it was at, man. That's just fishing with pops, dude.
Man, my dad has said it before. Like I remember him saying this when I was younger. He's like, oh, maybe not in these exact words, but he's like, damn, I created a monster. Because like I said,
look at Tyne, dude. Yeah, look at your son. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, dude, that's dope.
When we moved back and he started showing me all these different farm ponds, and because you know the family had acreage with a bunch of ponds, and then small community. You're a young kid out in the country. There's nothing to do.
Yeah.
You knock on a door and everybody knows everybody. You know, I'd be like, hey, I'm Jim Trent's son. You know, can I fish your pond? Yeah, go ahead. You know, he fished it when he was young, and, you know, long stories, whatever.
I'm picturing like old freaking Jimmy in some coveralls, dude, with his cupped up and barefoot.
Looking like Huck Finn.
Yeah, running around with a fishing pole or a cane pole. Is that how it was?
I mean, not far from it, either on. Well, one, you know, but before I was able to really ride a bike very far, because when I say far, if you want to fish a few ponds in a day, you're riding a bike 15, 20, 30 miles, just bouncing around. And you got a fishing pole, your gear and everything. But it's okay because you got all day. You can wake up, you know, in the summer as a kid out of school and tell mom, like, I'll be back at dark, or if I'm not back at dark, I'll be right back after dark, because she knows fish are biting best right before dark.
Did you ever bring fish home and fry them up right then and there?
Oh man, we need to get my mom on here about that too. Like,
that's so awesome.
Like I would bring home so many fish, and we had a pond too. I would catch a lot of fish and bring them and put them in my pond. Maybe I shouldn't do that, but
how'd that work out for you as far as like transferring fish? Like, did they thrive?
Yeah, they did. So that was kind of later.
I mean,
when I got a 3-wheeler.
We're at the statutes of limitations and all that stuff. We're talking about like real back in the day, less regulation, less, you know, all that
so
stuff.
I had at that time I only had a bicycle, and then Dad, you know, when Dad was home, that's when we were living in Oklahoma. He was still working in Dallas, so he would often stay all week down in Dallas and then come home on the weekends. Come home Friday evening. be home Saturday, Sunday, and leave early morning, like 2, 3 in the morning to get back to work on Monday morning. So on the weekends when dad would come home and be like, Dad, I just want to fish. I want to fish. But you showed me this and that. And I'm a kid. If I didn't have transportation to get there, that was him that would do it, and I wanted to go fishing with dad. So he done it as much as he possibly could, would take me. But obviously he's got other duties at home. He's only home on the weekends and certain things he's got to get done. Spend time with the rest of the family, my mom, my brother, and my sister. So he was like, damn, I created a monster. I can't go fishing all weekend, every weekend. Can't do it, So I started venturing out on my own. I tell mom, like, give me that PB&J, throw that shit in the bag, and I grab whatever rod and reel and tackle I could, and I would just be gone. I mean, gone.
I grew up, before I could go out with my cousin Dave, Primo Dave, you've met him. When he started driving, then he and I started venturing out on our own, going hitting up spots, and we just go fishing all damn weekend, dude. But before that, my dad would take me with him, and I had swollen tonsils all the time as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So you go out on the coast, man. You go out fishing at overnight. I would come home so sick, tonsils would be swollen. And I could never get surgery to get them removed because I was always sick.
Yeah.
But I was always sick because I went fishing every damn night. I could not let him leave the house. I want to go. I
gotta go.
And it would just like torture because I'd come home the next day. I'd be so swollen, so sick, but I didn't care. I wanted to fish. And going back to that boat, man, we would take that boat out, and it couldn't have been bigger than a 14-foot flat bottom boat. Yeah, and Dad found some kind of twin mattress and just put that sucker inside of it. And me and my cousin would just lay out on the mattress, and he'd paddle us out till we can get out further enough for a trolling motor to be used because, out there, the seaweed and all that stuff. And we go out right behind that university. Now it's Corpus Christi, Texas A&M Corpus Christi, but it used to be, I believe, CCU.
The one over by the Lexington?
No, the one over by the base.
Oh, by NAS?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we would go out there and we paddle out. And how cool is this, dude? They would take us out the day of the air show.
Mm-hmm.
And we go out and paddle out and just get out there, and we'd just be looking up, dude, laying down.
Just floating in the water.
Just floating in the water, looking up, and freaking Chuck Yeager be out there flying the silver bullet. Come on, dude. Blue Angels flying over us. We're sitting there hooking.
Who's Chuck Yeager?
Chuck motherfucking Yeager.
Who's that?
I'll have to post a picture with me.
Chuck Yeager's a man, yeah.
Chuck Yeager broke the sound barrier. First person to break the sound barrier.
He came to Afghanistan when we were there.
I have a picture of me sitting right next to him. I'm going to post that on here. Now you got me thinking. So, yeah, Chuck Yeager is anyone in aviation knows that's aviation and freaking
He's the
aerospace.
Evil Knievel.
Yeah, that dude was the first guy to do, like, loop-de-loops and whirly-whirls and
twirly twirls and
all that shit, dude. So Chuck Yeager would come out there flying the silver bullet. You remember he'd fly the Coors Light famous silver bullet stunt plane, and he'd just be out there just doing freaking crazy, tricks in his plane, and we would just lay out there and watch it. The Blue Angels fly over in formation, just like, it was like they knew we were out there and they wanted to put on a show for us, but they're putting it on for such a big area.
Cool is that? I don't know, 20, 25 years later, however long it was, like you're in a different country.
Get to meet him.
And he's standing there taking a picture with you.
It was pretty crazy, dude.
That's
pretty crazy. I mean, there's just so many things that we could think about that, say, times in Iraq, times in Afghanistan, if you would have gone back 15, 20 years and asked us, 20 years from now, you're going to be sitting in a,
retirement home.
Yeah, just go back and say you're going to be doing this, you're going to be meeting this person, you're going to be doing that, and you can be like, yeah, no way.
Yeah, no way.
But we got to meet Chuck Yeager years later after seeing him fly around in Corpus, dude.
Did your time like fishing with your dad progress? Like, was there, levels that went to?
Yeah. So, grab another one. So, the conversation is going good. You grab another cold.
I know, right? When you hear the,
I think it was when if I could kind of recap on fishing recreational versus fishing for like, what do you, so it's fishing for fun and then fishing for food. It's kind of they're not the same.
They're not, but they're both fun.
They are. However, I think you take it a little bit more serious when you're like, you're aiming for the harvest. You're aiming for like, also you're calling your limit in a sense, redfish, trout, all that stuff. You're actually like, hey, dude, if you're taking home fish, you want the biggest one you can take legally.
For me growing up, I didn't know what a limit, a cool, a slot, none of that, none of it mattered.
My dad,
right?
so my dad didn't know. I mean, all I knew was when the game warden showed up, you had to hide stuff.
Yeah. You see green pants coming.
I mean, it's just reality. I mean, we grew up in a time where, like, if you grew up hardship for food, you couldn't look at me you couldn't tell by looking at me now, but there was a time where it was like, hey man, we're either gonna hunt or fish for food.
Yeah.
And that was what we did. And we had our ups and downs. You know what I mean? Like, there was times where we had everything we needed. And there was times where,
like everybody, I mean, that's normal.
That's all we had. You know what I mean? Was like, let's go fish because it was free. And, I mean, when I say fishing was free, you couldn't get me to say that today.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the day, I could literally go down to my cousin's shrimp boat, get some shrimp, go just a little bit down the road, throw the line, catch some fish, take it home. Back then, what gas was 35 cents?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
I remember it being I remember when I first started driving a place called Jack's that I could go get gas under $1 a gallon.
That's what I'm saying is like, back then the cost of getting that done is nothing.
Yeah.
Fractions of what it would cost now. We can make a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, I was going to say we can talk. Yeah.
About how much it costs, or like fish. It's cheap. Eating fish or hunting is cheap. Like, there ain't nothing cheap about this. Oh, we're talking about those tackle shops, those bait shops, all that stuff. Like, look at what you have to go through now, essentially, to get a rod and reel combo. I mean, you got to go take out a loan to get a good freaking rod and reel, dude.
If you want to get, name brand.
But I mean, who's not fishing on the coast right now? Let's just be real. You go down to Corpus right now.
Mm-hmm.
There's two kinds of anglers. There's the guy who's out there fishing with the Zebco 808, right, with his kid.
Yep.
And then right next to him, there's the guy with that's on a Weekend Warrior who is an oil field operator.
Yeah.
He's got a freaking lifted diesel, 3,500 backed up to the water with a shark rig on his truck, fishing nothing but $1,000 reels.
Yeah.
And it's just how it is. You know what I mean? When we grew up.
Here's the cool thing about the community. Neither one of them thinks bad about the other person, though.
Both of them will be fishing side by side, and they'll be sharing
toast and beers.
Hell yeah. You know what I'm saying? But
one might have a Lone Star, the other might have a Dos Equis.
Would you agree, like, back in the day, I mean, you got down to the coast a little bit while you were younger? No? Okay, nope. So me growing up on the coast, dude, that was unheard of back then. Like, back then, dude, it was just, like, very humble. Like I say, pop the trunk, station wagons, trucks. And you just line up down there and fish. And, you'd be walking down the coast back and forth, walking down the jetty back and forth, and everybody was around you. It was kind of like a community effort. Mm-hmm. They would just watch what you bring in and be like, cool. And then sometimes you'd hit a limit and you'd share some with someone. And, it was a community thing. There was no territorial type thing. It was just like, get out there, fish, have a good time. Share your tips with your buddy. I remember we talked about it a long time ago when you walk up, hey, man, any luck today?
Yeah.
Oh, man, they're biting on top, or they're biting on bottom. This is what I'm fishing with, this and that. Like, it's a different time, dude.
That's completely different than my experience because anywhere that we fished, we were the only people there fishing. There was nobody. I mean, it's so rural.
Yeah, that's the difference of fishing out like so Corpus Christi, very much a fishing town. There's tourists coming down there going for specifically that. Mm-hmm. If I'm being honest, I got to fish a lot.
There's nobody coming out of town for rivers and farm ponds.
Yeah, well, I got to fish a lot, but you got to talk about like when I really got heavy was, of course, when I wasn't in school.
Yeah.
Right. So what time is that? Spring break, summer. It's packed. You couldn't reach out sideways with your left and right arm without touching somebody fishing in the coast down there.
That's when my dad kind of I got a little bit. I don't know. It was probably. I don't know, somewhere between 10 and 12. Like I said, I was on the bicycle, either walking around a bicycle, just pond hopping to whatever I could within probably a 5-6 mile radius of where we lived. And then when my dad would come. So I guess let me back up. My dad took me and my brother to this place called Caney, and Caney is a slough, just a real shallow, flat, small body of water. But in this body of water, you never knew what you were going to catch in it. When I say you didn't know, you catch different types of gar. You would catch grinnell. Some people call them bowfin.
Okay, yeah.
You catch bass, you catch catfish, just all kinds of. You just didn't know what it was going to be, and it was a small, not that big.
Dude, you just said something there, dude.
What's that?
That could be a whole nother topic of where we can dive into. Think about how we fish today.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm going bass fishing, I'm throwing presentations intended to pick out bass.
Mm-hmm.
We're throwing artificials, we're throwing lures, we're throwing whatever. Do you remember fishing back in the day? I don't know why I keep saying back in the day, but I think we're tapping into that again. We're tapping into some older times here.
Yeah.
You didn't know what you were reeling in. Why was that? Is it the way we were throwing it? Was it the bait we were throwing? Was it the presentation? What is it? Because now we're almost targeting a species and pulling in only that species. And you're kind of hoping that. I've never gone bass fishing in today's time and pulled out a carp.
So this place that I'm talking about fishing is where I actually learned how to target a species based off that. And my dad kind of teaching me, because we went down there and we started catching these different fish that at that point I hadn't seen yet. And I thought, a big toothy gar was the coolest shit. I was like, what is this? It's a fucking dinosaur, you know? I was like, this is cool. And then we caught some grinnell or bowfin, same thing. Looks like a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Badass. And we catch, some carp or bass, a bass, and
another
crappie,
beautiful fish too. Yeah.
Yeah. But, something that's a little more used to catching. And so Dad started telling me, this is how you catch this fish, that fish, rig it this way, do that. And we would often we do one or two things. We catch some small perch, or we go to the bait shop and get goldfish. If we were, time wise, you can just go buy some goldfish and gar. And that's when we started. I loved catching gar and grinnell and stuff like that. So I fell in love with this place to fish. And it was right off of a dirt road. 6, 8, 10 miles from the house. And I would try to ride my bicycle to this place to fish.
That's not bad. This is Caney's?
Caney. It's called Caney. It's called Caney Creek.
Caney Creek.
Yeah. And it's a floodplain of.
You gotta understand, Mexicans put an S behind everything.
Oh yeah.
Like Walmart,
JC
Penney's,
I say JC Penney's too. Yeah. So this place. So I was trying to do the bicycle thing, and then my dad got sick of me being like, "Dad, take me to Caney, take me to Caney's." I was like, Caney's. Yeah. So he bought me 3-wheeler. So I don't know if that's why, but
outlawed.
They're
outlawed now.
Still alive, bro.
What makes a 3-wheeler more dangerous than a 4-wheeler?
What makes a gun dangerous?
I don't know.
The person, right?
I guess.
It's the person.
I mean, you and I got guns in every corner. I don't know.
I didn't have no helmet. I didn't have no pads. I didn't have no chest protector. I'm still alive. I'm good. I had some bumps and bruises and boo-boos. Put some Scooby-Doo Band-Aids on.
Did you ever land in some barbed wire?
I didn't in a 3-wheeler, but I did in an amphibious 6-wheeler.
Yeah, I've done it in a 4-wheeler.
I've done it in a 6-wheeler.
It hurts.
You seen the amphibious 6-wheelers? My cousin had one of those, and we.
Oh yeah, those.
Yeah. I bet. Zero suspension, hauling ass down what we called a lane. It was just a long pasture road through one of the family properties, and we're hauling ass down it, and it just started bouncing, and it bounced into the. And
you used to maneuver it with two.
Yeah. So you had a throttle right here.
Yeah.
With your fingers, and you got the 2 levers. My cousin did.
That's dope.
My cousin did, but we used to, all take it. And
what's up, everybody? Pinche Ben here. Just want to take some time to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, High Heat Outdoors. High Heat Outdoors was a company built out of necessity. After years of seeing nothing but oak patterns, pine, and maple leaf style camo designs, the need for a versatile camo pattern inspired by High Heat Outdoors to focus on camo designs you've never seen before. Puro Mesquite. High Heat Outdoors are products that are intended for your time out in the blind, brush, heat, or even at the family barbecue. Fashion-forward apparel and accurate concealment. Listen, if you're an outfitter out there and you want to look for a camo pattern to put your logo on and promote your business, this is the camo pattern for you. Go to their website, check it out. Not only do they have multiple patterns, hunting patterns, clay shooting patterns, dove hunting, you can go out there and check out their different products like hoodies, pants, shirts, hats. Go check them out at puromesquite.com. That's www.puromesquite.com. That's PUROMESQITE.com. Check them out.
But yeah, when my dad got me that 3-wheeler, bro, I was gone, dude. Like gone. I mean, I could cover
You were
ground
gone on a
at
bike, let alone a
yeah,
3-wheeler.
I could cover ground at that point. And then, you know, it gave me the options too. Some of my friends that live further away, and they had
back then you could take some loose change and go gas up. And
well, I wasn't making it. Closest gas station's probably, I don't know, 20 miles, something like that, close to 20 miles.
oh, that's
Yeah, 15, 20 miles. But you would have to get on. Dude, don't get me wrong. Oh my God, I got so many camping stories of being in high school, a little bit older, where we would drive 4-wheelers into that town. Soper, Oklahoma, super small town. No stoplight, nothing in there. One little store that's there, and we'd load this 4-wheeler up with just racks of beer, drive out. You know, small town. I mean, I had, man, I don't want to name any names or anything, but you know, even being 13, 14. I could go into town and find, you know, someone that's 21, be like, yo, man, here's 5. Give me 3 30 packs or something. And okay, cool. Just throw them on a 4-wheeler, roll all the way back.
That's a lot of beer, dude.
Yeah. Well, we got to tell some of these stories. Maybe one of these days
we do or we don't.
Maybe we can call some, you know.
Yeah, let's call some of these guys up.
Call some cousins and friends up. We could do one, you know. You call some folks and I call some folks.
Yeah, I think we should start doing that. Actually, are you down to start?
I'm down, man.
Bringing some friends in, some family, and kind of get them on the podcast.
There's going to be some embarrassing shit. I'm cool about it. Whatever,
man. That's what this podcast is about.
I don't care. It'll be embarrassing, but we just got to leave some names out here and there.
Yeah, if you guys are interested in seeing some of our embarrassing, I guess, stories or whatever, sometimes they're just cool. And it's just like you guys can relate to a lot of them because it's all things that we've all been through. Talking about fishing at a young age with pops, how you got started. You know, you see a lot of, with today's age and social media, you know, they paint this beautiful picture of Pop and, you know, dad and son sitting on the edge of a pier fishing off for the first time. And that could be your story. Mm-hmm. Some people's story is, running off the edge of a fishing hole somewhere that they only had access to, like the family, a pond, whether you got a chance to go to the lake. I remember Dad used to pack up, he'd go to the store and he'd get a loaf of bread. Back then you could get lunch meat. You can still get lunch meat from the deli.
Bless you.
Excuse me. Get lunch meat and deli sliced cheese, you know?
Yeah.
And you get in that white butcher paper, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just that it's the memories. I can smell the meat market, you know?
So I think we had this conversation. That was y'all's deal.
And then put the sandwiches, make sandwiches, put them back in the loaf of bread. They're already made. And we go out, fish the whole weekend.
Our deal is deviled ham and mustard on bread. That's it, man. Maybe some cheese if you got it, but we go fishing, we'll take deviled ham and cheese, man.
What was the cheapest meat cut you could get back then?
Probably bologna.
Bologna, yeah.
Probably.
We would do a lot of lunch meat. I don't know if lunch meat was actually cheaper than bologna.
Was lunch meat is just like the chopped and pressed ham?
Yeah, that's what it looked like. Mm-hmm. I would imagine that, and I ate a lot of spam. Not spam. I take that back. Potted meat.
Potted meat, yeah.
Bro, you couldn't get me to eat potted meat anymore.
Oh, smash it, dude.
Bro,
yeah.
I used to love potted meat sandwiches. Did you ever have a potted meat sandwich, like on bread?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what we do. Deviled ham or potted meat.
Is that what that is?
Uh-huh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because there was a brand that actually had that.
Uh-huh, in a blue can.
Yeah. Yep.
Spread it on it, put some mustard.
Bro,
if you got a piece of cheese, you're in heaven, man, but just some mustard.
Yeah, just that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's how we
Matter of fact, for me, my dad's last fishing trip, we had 1 can left over, and I still have it in my pantry. Like, I'm just going to keep it, yeah. But that's where I think.
Do you got any pictures or video of that one fishing trip?
I do, yeah. Yeah.
We got to go.
I'll throw them up here.
We got to go recreate that fishing trip, bro.
Okay. Yeah. I'll throw some of those pictures up. What was that, last year or a year before? It was pretty recent. I want to do it again, and it's usually around this time of year. That's where my kind of fishing with Pops, and now, you know, from starting to now, it's kind of went full circle, because now it's like, Dad, we got to go fishing.
Is that
like,
your favorite memory of fishing with Pop? What is now we talked about like when I first remember, what's your favorite memory of fishing with Pops?
Oh, dude. Okay. This is going to sound crazy. You've talked to Dad. My dad's cool, man. He's my dude.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll keep going with the graduation. I told you about my dad getting me the 3-wheeler. Then I went on. A few years later, he ended up getting a boat, and we've talked about that boat. It's a little 14-foot flat bottom aluminum boat, but this thing was the baddest.
Dude, that could have been a freaking 21-foot nitro.
Yes,
compared
exactly.
to
Yeah. So what that did is give me access to the rivers. So then I turned into a river rat. My dad had a shop, and I was working in a shop.
Can you explain what a river rat is?
Someone that runs up and down the rivers, just
hauling ass,
raising hell, fishing, hunting,
finding people at the bank, causing trouble.
Beer. Yeah, just a river heathen, you know. Yeah. And that's what I turned into in the high school years with that boat. But my dad had a shop, a tire shop, mechanic shop, and that's where I worked at during high school doing that stuff. And I would beg him all the time. I'm like, Dad, let's close the doors early. Let's go to the river. Let's go to the river. Sometimes he would, sometimes he wouldn't. But I remember one time we took off and went down on the river, and my dad, if memory serves me right, has never walked into a dentist office before. Mm-hmm. But this day he had a toothache, and we were fishing and catching fish, and he's showing me different ways to fish the river, and I'm like soaking it up like a sponge. And of course, you know, we're drinking beer, or he's drinking beer. Maybe I was or wasn't.
You didn't have anything else to drink if you were like me.
No, yeah, I got some stories about that too. Yeah, you either drink river water or Keystone.
That's what I'm talking about, bro. There wasn't no freaking high C fruit punch on the damn. That was unheard of, dude. You thirsty? Here you go, boy.
Yep, you drink it. But this day, my dad, like I say, he had a toothache. This dude took out his Leatherman and pulled a tooth out. And like I could hear him scream, like I seen him doing it. He's like screaming, and he pulls his tooth out.
Did he ever do that to you?
No. But he's good after that. And I'm like, this dude's a legit badass.
Oh, yeah.
Like, legit.
He's like your He-Man, right?
Yeah.
He's like your Superman?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So badass.
That's what my dad was. He was like fucking invincible. I'd seen my dad get hit by a car. Like.
And total it. No.
He totaled the dude driving it.
Oh, yeah? Good.
So, got hit by a car. We were walking across the street to get beer. I was just going with him because there was an arcade game in there. I can't remember the name of the game. I wanted to go play that video game.
We'll call it Pac-Man.
Nah, man, it was fucking way more cooler than Pac-Man. It was like, fuck, Altered Beast. Is that a video game?
I don't know. I'm not well versed in the video games.
If you're watching this, look that up. I think that was it. So we go across the street, and I had to. I remember I could play that video game for a quarter or whatever. So I was like, I want to go. Dad gets hit by a car, takes him down the road, bro. Like
he's crossing the street.
We're crossing the street, dude. The car comes around, boom. It was like a fast car, like a Camaro or something. Boom, hits him in the hip. He gets on he's like getting taken for a ride. He's busted through the windshield, dude, pounding through the windshield. Car freaking pulls over, like, and I'm just like, dude, I was probably like 11. I'm just like, oh, like watching that. Dude,
probably terrified.
Well, of course, dude. Your dad just got hit by a car.
Smacked.
Dude, he throws a couple of punches in the freaking windshield, busts through the windshield. The dude kind of leaves my dad in the ditch, pulls off. I was like, what? You know, I go over there. Dude, he limps back to the store to get his freaking 6-pack of beer, walks across, called an ambulance, come pick him up. Yeah, he broke his hip, dude. Damn. He was like, yeah, but laid a couple of punches on that dude, though. I was like, dude, what the fuck? Dude, that
nice.
My childhood has a lot of those stories. Maybe we can get into a little bit more of those.
Yeah, we got to call some friends and cousins up one day or
bro,
something.
I'm telling you, bro. You could not believe some of the stories.
So some I can't call. They're in prison.
A lot of my family
but
has passed.
We can improvise. Oh, man, yeah.
My uncle, my closest uncle, fished with him and my dad all the time. My cousin Dave's dad. Mm-hmm. He's my godfather. He was probably the most intimidating man I've ever met. And you and I know some dudes.
Yeah, there's some dudes out there.
Bro, when this dude spoke with thunder.
When he comes in, like people were like,
he had the presence when he walked into a room. Like the kids quit playing.
kind of like when I come in.
Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, not so much.
I wish I had
not
that
so
clout.
much. Yeah,
dude, my Theo David, bro, God rest his soul, best in the West.
Yeah,
baddest man on the planet, dude. Dude, I once launched a 2-ounce freaking triangle weight, like surf weight,
pyramid weights,
weight. Mm-hmm. Perfectly. He was sitting there tying on a rig, had a cigarette in his mouth. He drank freaking whiskey in a cup, man, set it down right next to his, sitting over a bait bucket, upside down. Sitting there tying up a rig, got a cigarette in his mouth. And I don't know what. We're out there at Packery Channel, dude. I'm freaking launching, trying to cast out, and somehow my bait goes straight sideways, dude, perpendicular to the ground. Just
so you whipped it this way instead
of whipping it overhead. I tried to get it over, dude. If I could have reached out for that line and tried to reach it.
You sent a bullet.
Bro, this thing's going straight to him, and I'm like, slow motion looking at it like, no. my cousin's looking at it. I'm looking at it. It goes and it hits that bucket right between his legs, dude. He looks at me. He's like, "Ching!" Guys yelling at me, dude. He's like, "God damn it!" He puts his freaking cigarette down. His big takes a whiskey drink. Comes back at me. He's like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" I was like, "I'm sorry, dude." I swear that was the one time where I thought I was gonna die.
Thought it was over.
I thought he was gonna throw me in the water. We were at the jetties. I thought he was gonna throw me, dude. I swear, man.
So I'm gonna leave you on a cliffhanger.
That's him right there in that cowboy hat, right?
Oh,
there,
right here, yeah. I want to leave you on a cliffhanger here because at some point we gotta call some folks up, friends and family, and tell some stories. But have you ever seen anybody catch water on fire?
Oh hell, yeah! I can't say that I have.
Okay, I have.
Let's go. Let's use that for another.
Yeah,
another
there's
episode.
a story behind it. Yeah, there's some folks that'll have to be
water,
brought in on it.
We'll call that water on fire.
Water on fire. Yeah. Oh man.
Man, it was a good time, man. We decided to do this podcast kind of going from the hip. I didn't know where it was going, and I'm glad it went where it went.
It's been fun.
We could take this a whole into a chapter, reeling in the memories. You could say, you know what I mean. We grew up.
I wish we still had pictures. I wish pictures were as easy to save as they are nowadays, so that we could throw some back in the day. I do have some.
I don't. So. I can tell you right now, I have zero pictures. I can go into a million reasons why. Long story short, a lot of my childhood was destroyed or stolen or lost. Mm-hmm. It's just the reality of my background. There were no Facebook memories back then.
Yeah, exactly.
So if you didn't have something locked up in a cedar chest or a safe, needless to say, over a period of moves and a period of hardships, those things go and get lost. So there's a lot of memories that I will share that are tied to a memory and just that. But I can have some people that can vouch for them.
Well, if you don't mind, I'm going to try to. I'll throw some on here. I got a few, not many.
I would love to be able to share those with you. You see some pictures up here. That's my uncles and this and that. We got this here little hand-me-down. I think I misspoke one time. This is your great grandfather.
Yeah, great-great-grandfathers, yeah.
Yeah, I think I said great-grandfather, and I was like, wait, that's great-great-grandfather.
I think I got some of their blood, some of the old blood in me, because a lot of my cousins and stuff, me, I'm kind of an old... If I didn't live in town... You'd probably think I'm a mountain man. You know what I mean? The way that I'd probably live my life. It'd be self-sufficient.
I could vouch for that. Self-sustaining.
Yeah, self-sustaining. But having a family, I pick a family over that. And I'm not gonna if they don't want that way of life, I ain't gonna do it.
I'm with you. I ever tell you about the time where my mom? I'm gonna cut this one.
Yeah, we're probably getting long.
We moved out in the country because I lived in Corpus Christi. That's a city, no doubt. Mm-hmm. Right. We moved out in the country when I was 5 years old. Kindergarten. I did kindergarten out in the country. Small town called Sandia, Texas, near Orange Grove, all that area. the George West, Mathis.
Okay, yeah.
Moved out in the country, lived out in the two single wide trailers side by side on a little ranchette, and we lived out 1 mile down from the Oasis River, so I could go fish that river every day.
Right by the river. That's the best.
We go out, put a gar line. I'll talk about that in our hunting rest of it. But we did a lot of stuff down there. My mom, being a city slicker, told my dad, "You got 1 year to get me to go out there and prove to me that that's the life for me." And it took no more than a year for us to get back to the city.
Oh man, that is the life.
I have so many good memories of being out there. I mean, from gigging frogs, putting chicken on a hook out in the setting gar lines out in the river, Oasis River.
Yeah.
Hunting hogs, javelinas, rabbits, getting picked up on horseback as a kindergarten kid. My friends from kindergarten come picking me up, taking field trips out to the middle of the country and doing like churning for butter and stuff like that. Like that was
making homemade ice cream the old time way.
100% the way I would have loved to live. And if I can get there again, I want to.
Someday, man. That's the dream.
It is. It is. So, man, I hope that when we share some of these stories with you guys, it kind of takes you down memory lane and you can think about it. Some of you are still living the life and you're still doing that. And, man, it makes me jealous.
It's not only the fishing, but the hunting too. So we understand that we just talked about fishing today, but we talked about doing a hunting with pops too, or maybe you with your kid if you didn't get to do it with your pops, So
maybe we can do one about hunting.
Yeah,
and just kind of talk about the first time we hunted with pops. I got some stories.
I got some of those too.
Let's do that, man. We'll make the next one about hunting with pops, man. If you guys haven't noticed, we're sitting here in front of the camera. We got no producer behind us. We got nobody controlling the camera, switching it up. So it was kind of an intimate moment. Just Jimmy, myself, and you.
That's it.
Hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. We're going to try to bring you another one. I think the next one we can do is about
we can talk hunting.
Hunting with pops.
But if you have any comments about your first memory fishing,
share with us your memory, man. What was
first or best?
What was the first lure you tied on with pops?
Yeah.
What was the first knot he taught you how did you learn how to cast out and all that stuff? I mean, we all got our stories. We all have our memories.
I could sit here for the next 2 weeks talking the same thing, going through stories.
Yeah, we're probably going to do that, but we'll do that off camera.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. We just wanted to bring you guys a little bit from the hip, and I think this just kind of turned into a series for us. We did a reeling in the memories today with pops. We'll do a hunting for a good time or something. We'll come up with a catchy name.
Something.
But for you guys that don't know, and this is the first time you've seen us, man, this is Jimmy and Pinche Ben. We do this by ourselves. We do not have a big production team and sitting here behind the scenes. This is just us, man, sitting in front of the camera, and you guys, uncensored, unscripted, and we're going to be bringing you guys new content, hopefully weekly, and hope you guys enjoyed this, man. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Cast and Blast podcast.
Peace out.